Thank you so much. I stand on the existing protocol. Thank you, everybody. It has been a wonderful presentation. It has been nice to listen to Dr. Professor Amina, Professor Abbas, and all the other scholars that are here. So, yeah, the title of my paper talks about lived experience of African women, Black African women. So the paper, sorry, I want to share my screen. The paper hinges on the idea of phenomenology and lived experience of African women. Hold on, please. Okay, when I'm able, I'll share my screen. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, so the paper, like you said, women and the question of reality in Africa, the lived experience of breadwinning. So the paper talks about the phenomenological theory of lived experience of African women and compares the idea of how this lived experience impacts on their reality as African women. Hold on, please, just give me a few minutes. So we find out that for many African women, okay, the introduction, the paper talks about the factors responsible for the state of affairs as it is. It interrogates the new trend of Black women experience as breadwinning, aiming to proffer practical recommendation for sustainable families in the 21st century. Its objective is to explore options and new approaches to productive living among African families. It employs literary review, critical elucidation of family dynamics, and faulty stereotypes to recommend new approaches to family, gender role plays, and self-actualization. The keywords are lived experiences, breadwinning, African women, and sustainable living, sustainable families. So, for instance, the problem of this, the problem that this paper tries to look at is the fact that there are women who dare to be, who dare to take their destinies in their hands. And this ability or this act of trying to take their destinies in their hands has impacted their being and has many consequences for them. So the gap in knowledge is that there are little works that explores women, African women experience in this area. And then as a result of that, the job of this paper is to help bring to fore these lived experiences of African women. So you also find out that the paper also tries to see that one of the major problems is comparing the traditional structures with the contemporary structure. You find out that the traditional structure of many African families is responsible for why breadwinning is a foreign experience among many African women. Hence, the reality in many African cultures, or the reality for many African women, is that as a result of the fact that they have been able to go out there to fight for their rights, to fight for their family, they have many things that they need to deal with. They have many needs, they have many questions, there are many things that they have to deal with as a result of this. So the questions that this paper tried to answer is, what is wrong with being bold, being a bold woman? And then it also explores the idea of submission. And then what is wrong with a self-driven woman? And then how this lived experience enhances or impacts on her traits. You know, as an African woman, there are several traits that we are told to have, which includes submission, docility, and and just kowtow to, to the public opinion. But you find out that as a woman who has to win the bread for the family, the role play and the gender traits have changed. Automatically, this particular woman will have to develop survival traits. And these survival traits that she develops impact on her being, impact on what it means to be a woman, which is foreign to many African homes, many African families, many African relations. So this paper aims to analyze some of the significance of breadwinning experience for African women, how it impacts on their gender traits, and also how families can manage these experiences. This meeting is being recorded. Okay, please let me change my device. Thank you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, I want to share my screen. Don't worry, I'll keep to the time. Sorry, can you see my screen and can you hear me?
We can see your screen and we can hear you.
Thank you. I'm so sorry for that hitch. Okay, so I was trying to talk about the the introduction. So I am at this point. This is a book that I was able to come up with some time ago. And these are some of the questions that I try to raise in this book. The question of what it means to be a struggling woman. You find that if a woman dares to be in Africa, they have consequences for their being. Because you are a cub a lioness who wants to save her cubs, automatically the lived experience of being able to win bread for your family changes your being, it changes your lived experience. But the question is, many African families have not been able to relate with this, despite the fact that many women have come to rescue their family. Many women have been able to give up their life, give up their time, give up their resources to ensure that the family survive. But what you get is that the lived experience of many African women is that actually those people you trust are the people that actually betray you. So what I'm trying to say in this paper is that there are consequences for women who try to be. It develops their new traits and impacts their experiences. So the methodology of the paper involves literature review, philosophical and phenomenological analysis of the lived experience, critical elucidation of family dynamics. It also interrogates faulty stereotypes to recommend a new and practical approach to breadwinning for African families that is restorative, productive, and sustainable for 21st century living. So these are some of the papers that I was able to explore. But the general opinion, the general view in this paper is that, first of all, there's a gap in many literatures that affect lived experience of African women. Secondly, those that talks about the lived experience of African women actually
talked about the ability, the ability in breadwinning to, you know, save funds, save their family, the economic impact basically. But many of them did not talk about the fact that because she has to win her bread, she has roles that she has to put on. For instance, when you go to the office, you are a different person. When you come to home, you are a different person. And how this impacts on her personality and impact on her feminist and feminine relation. The question is that as a woman, we have been told to live certain ways. And this comes from the traditional family structures where women were never even trained in the first place to become breadwinners. But you find out that when they find out that, okay, their husbands either docile, do not have a job, or they just give up on the family, women come to the rescue to ensure that their children are not left desolate. This is the question of reality in many African homes. But how does this impact on the being of the woman? How does it impact on the fact that many women, though they have to go through this, they are not recognized for their position? Hence, there are things that we need to talk about. For instance, the issue of knowledge transfer, because there's a lot of gap in knowledge in this area. There's a lot of gap in knowledge, and that is a result of the fact that there's no opportunity for knowledge transfer among women. There's no you know, we talked about one of my speakers talked about ethnographic and stages, and you know, but in another conference you could call that as in another way, in another study, such ethnographic research could also be called the issue of the town square. You know, so for instance, in Africa, we don't have town square where women can meet. Yes, women can meet as age group, women can meet as women group, but can they really openly discuss their challenges? Can they discuss their experience? And the gap in this is that because women don't discuss their experience as breadwinners, the challenges, and how it impacts their being, they are not able to transfer knowledge to the next generation. The truth is that the reality in many African homes, many African families, is that men can no longer be sole breadwinners. So what does this say to our daughters when we do not call them to sit them down, or when we do not write about it, or when our families are not sure of what's happening? Because many women, they even hide the fact that they are the breadwinners. The man can still come up and spend the money whichever way they like, and nobody queries them. Yet, when the woman is having issues, the family is expecting her, okay, submit, keep quiet, silence, secrets. There are so many things that, there are so many gaps in breadwinning experience among many 21st century African families. And the reason why this gap is there is because, one, there's no knowledge transfer. And the reason why there's no knowledge transfer is because we don't have cafes, we don't have town square, we don't have opinion, is it opinion group? We don't have support groups where we can come out and say, this is our challenge, and this is how I handle it, this is how you handle it. And then young girls can learn from this experience, because the truth is that the new family structure is not going to have one breadwinner. That's number one. Two, because our girls are getting education, they are going to be able, they may find themselves in this position where they have to be the breadwinners for their family. Three, because many of them have not been prepared for this position, the possibility of getting hurt, feeling bad, and feeling the feeling of betrayal for not expecting, for not planning, for not knowing that this is what I'm going to experience is there. So this knowledge gap is one of the things that we need to reduce for adaptation of roles to gender roles. You find out that we need to demystify parenting roles. Parents need to reduce the fact that you're telling her this is a girl, this is what she can do, she's a boy, this is what you can do. We need to let the boys know that if they are the ones at home, they should do the homekeeping. They should make the home. They should wash the dishes and make the meal. There's nothing gender about that. Hunger does not have gender. So does eating have gender? So the question is, we need to have open approaches. Even as women, we also need to have open approaches to these gender roles, to sustaining families and breadwinning. Because even amongst women, we keep the secret among ourselves because we are not able to share our experience. So boys also need to develop soft skills. Girls need to understand that when they have to do the breadwinning, it does not reduce their personality. Yes, they have to sacrifice certain things, but they can also stand up to these roles, enjoy the roles, and then the families can also accept the traits that come with it. Yes, as a breadwinner, I have the trait, the new trait of determination, drive, and I can be assertive. If I speak assertively, you shouldn't tell me that I'm a woman, I should keep silent. So, in conclusion, the breadwinning experience of many African women is responsible for many African women developing new gender traits, which the 21st century families, 21st century relations, 21st century genders should be able to understand, accommodate, and give a place to. Thank you very much.